Dear students, let us begin with the third part of the lesson on foreign policy, types, objectives and principles, in which we will learn about the principles of foreign policy. Principles of India's foreign policy. Foreign policy principles are the framework based on which the foreign policies are formulated. These are the guiding principles of foreign policy through which the above mentioned objectives are realized. Peaceful coexistence. The world has witnessed the destruction and insecurity caused by the World War I and World War II. In order to prevent such wars, it was believed that peaceful coexistence and cooperation are necessary. India gave importance to world peace in its foreign policy. This idea of peaceful coexistence was originally reflected in the 1954 agreement on trade and cooperation between the Tibet region of China and India, which entitled as a Panchashil or 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. The 5 principles are as following: respect each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference, equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence. Non-alignment policy. The basic essence of this principle is to maintain the sovereignty of decision making and independence of foreign policy. India opted a non-alignment policy during the Cold War era, when the United States and Soviet Union sought to divide the world into 2 blocs. Considering India's need for economic development, it opted not to join with any of the blocs, but rather to keep understandable relations with all the countries. While formulating foreign policy, India would ensure its right to express its opinion on international issues, supporting a world order based on equality. Since independence, India has been working to eliminate all kinds of discrimination and has supported the freedom struggle of many colonial countries. India firmly believes in the equality of all humankind. India was the first country to bring apartheid issue into the United Nations. Anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, anti-racism are also some of ideals of India's foreign policy. India supports United Nations. The UN is an international organization which brings each nation under one umbrella to work for peace, stability and security in the world. India symbolizes the United Nations as humanity's hope for peaceful and secure world order. It is always committed to fulfill its obligations with the United Nations and cooperates with all its organs and specialized agencies. It showed its responsibility to the United Nations by rendering its support to the peacekeeping force of the United Nations and actively cooperating in all its effort for disarmament and arms control. Faith in the United Nations and high respect to international law are also important principles of India's foreign policy. Peaceful settlement of disputes. One of the main elements of India's foreign policy is to seek to solve international disputes through peaceful means. Disputes between countries are inevitable. After the realization of the destruction created by wars throughout history, the world came to understand the significance of negotiations, mediations, conciliation and arbitration for the peaceful settlement of disputes. Since its independence, India has been advocating for resolution of conflicts between the disputed countries, and it was also reflected in its settlement of dispute with China regarding the Tibet issue in 1954. Further, India had settled its maritime boundary with Bangladesh in 2014. India emphasizes that peaceful settlement of disputes should be the goal of not only international organizations, but also of all states. Promotion of regional and global cooperation. Another principle of India's foreign policy is to maintain contacts and develop cordial relations with other states in order to enhance economic and technological collaboration. It is essential for India to establish diplomatic relations with other countries to extend its sphere of influence and to ensure mutual cooperation. India maintains cordial relations with all countries. India has been a profound contributor in promoting regional cooperation in South Asia and extending it to the Southeast Asian region. The Look East policy, which was introduced by P.V. Narasimha Rao and later upgraded as Act East policy by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the Gujarat Doctrine are some of the best examples. India is extensively working to extend its multilateral cooperation at global and regional level through groupings like SAARC, BBIN, BIMSTEC, BRICS, SCO, IPSA, Quad, etc. Let us summarize what we have learnt so far in this lesson. There are various types of foreign policy such as trade, diplomacy, alliance, foreign aid, sanctions, interventionism, isolationism and use of force. And also we understand how objectives of foreign policy cannot be achieved by a state unless it follows the proper framework. I hope you understood all the concepts that we have discussed in this lesson. We have concluded our lesson on foreign policy, types, objectives and principles. Thank you.